Mm-mm.
We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. Sorry, my mic was not on. If I could please get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. No, we weren't making copies anymore, but you didn't get, okay. Perfect.
All right, just remember for our shared beliefs for the council of being open and honest, and I'll move us into roll call.
Larry Bowman,
Present.
Davin Perry,
Present.
Carrie Bro,
Present.
Bill Campbell,
Present.
Cassandra Quisnell, online, Jesse Camacho, online, and Jennifer Morton is online. Right, and the staff in attendance, Albert Tripp, Attorney Dan Gibbons, Captain Keith, Lieutenant Madison, myself, Tara Moses, and several online.
All right, thank you for that. Any changes to tonight's agenda?
There are no proposed changes.
All right, council, what would we like to do about tonight's agenda?
Move to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Have a second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. I don't see any calls for announcements and presentations. That'll move us directly into council reports. Any online? All right, not seeing any. Last week, flew out to Washington, D.C. with John, our legislator, and it was a pretty fruitful day of meetings. Met with all of our federal delegates out there, with Maria Cantwell, with Patty Murray, and then with Mike Baumgartner's office, just trying to frame our federal legislative agenda and trying to get funding for the U.S. corridor project, but also the public safety building, framing it kind of as a crisis response center as well for the therapeutic course, trying to just go over all the services that are in there. We talked about the master level clinicians that go out with our officers and whatnot. So we just try to frame it in a way to where, they can understand it's not just we're not just asking for a police department. We're literally asking you for a community support center for public safety and for, to help people get resources and services that, they may not otherwise have, or that we would have to be in multiple buildings for bringing them under the same roof. So that was kind of a big deal with Senator Baumgartner, or with Senator Baumgartner, with Representative Baumgartner, Congressman. We asked, they wanted to go over a couple different, things with the US 2 project, some that are in opposition to what we'd like to do. But I also had a 45-minute conversation today with the Chamber of Commerce that answered a ton of those questions today for some of the other members that may be in opposition of the US 2, the corridor project there. So hopefully if they have any other questions or anything else, they can, I directed them at Albert with one or two questions that I couldn't answer. And then same thing with Heather and Miss Miller saying, hey, I think that, this is going to be your best connection at this point to get those answered, because I don't want to just, say something. So if they reach out to you, I think we went over everything and we answered after we brought up all of our, all the different websites and with our engineering partners and everything else to answer as many questions as we could. So, but yeah, that's so fruitful meetings out there in DC. Hopefully we can get some money and however way they throw it in a bill or whatnot. So yeah, and fruitful conversation today with the Chamber of Commerce. So hopefully we can get some additional support for our projects. That's all I got.
Any staff reports, Mr. Tripp?
I just have a couple items I wanted to brief the council on as a follow-up to Chair Bowman's comments about US2. I noted over the weekend, staff submitted the bill grant application. I think it was about $11 million in change. This would be combined, if successful, with the existing $5 million in hand to finish funding the project and to start construction on it. As a related note, we do have some meetings planned to visit with representatives from Fairchild to understand their concerns and to work through those and resolve them to the extent that we can. So more to come in that particular area. I noted a few moments ago that Washington State is poised to adopt legislation that would ask voters for consideration of a income tax here in this November. And one of the things I had expressed in the council report, the state delegation for our district, the 6th district, they've opposed the proposal. Having said that, though, how the proposal is shaping up as it's been working its way through the legislature is that the state has been identifying the funding source as a potential to fund other needs throughout the state, case in point, public defense. And so part of the feedback we did share with the state delegation, even if you are opposed to it, we ask that you submit an amendment that would allow for the city not to lose financial resources. The reason that's important is because this is not the first time the state's done this, but when there's a new measure that comes online with a new revenue source, a strategy that's been employed in the past is to reduce an existing revenue source somewhere else. That existing revenue source is sales tax. So under the current way this bill is framed, if the measure passes in November, without this amendment, cities will see a commensurate reduction in sales tax, which wouldn't necessarily put you ahead in terms of providing those services. You'd actually lose ground because you're losing the sales tax side that you currently have access to. We're just awaiting to hear feedback on that, but if you have a chance to talk with any of our delegation, I shared some talking points that would appreciate it if you could share those with the delegation. On a lighter note, City Lobbyist Emily Shea reported back on how the budgets are stacking up. So you have proposed budget for the House, one for the Senate on the capital side. And as council will recall, you asked for a state capital grant of, I think, about $83,000 for emergency backup power for the city service campus. She's indicated that that's in both the House and it's also in the Senate budget, which is a good thing. Normally, if you're in one of the budget, you have to fight to stay in there and try to get into the second budget. Since the request you asked for is in both budgets, that puts the city in a really good position. So it's about just maintaining that momentum. The intersection improvement at McFarland and Hayford Road wasn't as successful. It wasn't in either the House or the Senate proposed capital budget. However, Senator Holy did say that they will continue to work on the interim, and that could mean a plus up of the amount of funding that's available to the city in 2027 as part of the long session. So hopefully, if not now, then at 2027, we'll be able to see some progress on that. And that concludes my report unless council has any questions.
Mr. Gibbons?
No report. Thank you.
Okay. You too? No report. Thank you. Anybody online have a report? Just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. And no report from me.
All right, thank you. I don't see any call for public hearings, so that'll move us into the consent agenda. Item CA1 is the approval of minutes from February 17, 2026. Item CA2 is a request of approval for meeting minutes from February 23rd, 2026. Council, what would we like to do about the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Motion to have a second? Second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. That'll move us on to ordinances. Item A is the second read of ordinance C-11116, the water concurrency, and I'll go ahead and let you speak in the record.
Ordinance number C-1116, an ordinance amending the water concurrency relating to city water service, water allocation determinations, and concurrency process to authorize water service connections for buildings and associated improvements and providing for other matters related thereto.
All right. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Heather Troutman, Director of Building and Planning for the City of Airway Heights. This item did have a first reading on 2 weeks ago. For this was actually on the 27th, I believe, of February. It's been previously briefed. This ordinance should also have a public hearing. So I will turn this over to the chair to open up for public comment on the proposal. In summary, it is an ordinance that updates our allocation of water resources measured known as equivalent residential units. We measure our water because we are giving our water to projects, new development, and we're also buying our water from an outside source, which is the city of Spokane. This incorporates increases in the available water based on agreements with the city of Spokane for additional allocation we've received from them recently. And we'd be part of a methodology moving forward to increase water as allocations of water are received from the city of Spokane. And with that, I'll turn that over to the chair to open for any public testimony today and to render a vote on the ordinance from the council.
All right, with that being said, at this time, we'll go ahead and open up a public hearing for ordinance C-1116 for water concurrency at 543. If anybody online or whatnot would like to address any concerns or comments on this, please raise your hand and we will, as we see you, bring you online. All right, you seeing anything over there? And then Heather, you did say that this was the second read. When was the first read of this?
It was on February 17th, and it was given as a study session on November 24th of 2025.
Okay, well, I don't see anybody online. I will go ahead and close the public hearing at 5:44 p.m. With that being said, council, what would we like to do about item A for ordinance C-1116 for water concurrency?
Move to approve ordinance C-1116, water concurrency.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, I have a second. Any questions or comments from council? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to item B, the first reading of ordinance C-1117, Inland Power Franchise Agreement. Mr. Tripp, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm chairing council, as we've discussed in the past, with previous franchise agreements that have come before the council, be it for telecom or fiber. The council has broad discretion to be able to regulate the use of public right-of-way for these types of utilities. In this particular case, the city's had a long-standing franchise agreement with Inland Power, which is one of two electrical service providers within the community. This proposed franchise seeks to extend that agreement for another 25 years, so that they might continue to be able to provide power and do whatever the necessary work is to maintain their facilities within the community. This is a first reading. No action is requested this evening.
All right. Awesome. Go ahead.
Ordinance C-1117, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, granting Inland Power and Light Company, a Washington Cooperative Association, its successors, and assigns the non-exclusive right, privilege, authority, and franchise to locate, construct, install, own, operate, maintain, repair, and replace poles, elevated and underground wires, cables, and appurtenances for the transmission, control, and distribution of electricity within the city. Thank you.
All right, and then are we gonna hear the second reading on this?
Second reading scheduled for March 16th, but between now and then, it'll come back to the council at your next study session.
Okay. All right, we'll move it forward. At that point, I don't see any calls for resolution. No transportation benefit district. I don't see any calls for public comment right here. Is there any public comment online? And how are we doing that online when somebody wants to?
If they raise their hand, then I will ask them to unmute themselves.
All right, if there's anybody online who would like to discuss anything with council, please raise your hand. All right, we do have one member raise their hand. If I could please get you to, whenever you're allowed into main room, just state your name, your address, and then typically we keep stuff addressing items that are on the agenda here. But if you would like to discuss something briefly that is not, then you can go ahead and bring it up, and you can either address it this time, or we can get you to the right member to answer the question. And
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm from Spokane. I'm Luke, James Luke driver. I was out there with my truck, and Airway Heights Police Department wound up taking my truck and impounding it. Well, I was sold the truck, and from I think it was a fraudulent seller, and I think I should give the truck back. I think it's a civil matter. It shouldn't be held by the police department. That's considering I had uh, title and registration there at the time. I don't know why they took my truck. I think I should get it back.
Captain, would you?
While I can acknowledge Mr. Driver's position on this matter, unfortunately at this time, it's an ongoing and active investigation, and I am not at liberty to discuss it at this time.
Okay,
And then
but
if
Sorry.
he was to have any other questions, who could we direct him to?
He can reach out to the police department. I think he's also contacted Adam Johnson. He's been working with him in the past, so he's welcome to do so. He's also contacted me, and I've referred him to Adam Johnson as well to share questions and comments he has about the process.
All right. And then with that, can we just get an update on it at some point as well? Next week, or even the week after, as we kind of progress, and you're allowed to discuss things with us. Will that work, sir?
No, it's not really. I don't see why their investigation is taking so long. It's been over a week now. I don't see why it's taking so long. How come I can't have my truck back?
Yeah, at this point in time, if it's under an active investigation, we don't get briefed on any active investigations. So I know you've been directed to Corporal Johnson or to the police department in a whole.
It's like costing me money from working with the truck. It actually, it's what I use for hauling material with. But I don't know why it's being kept so long. It only takes so long to dust for fingerprints. I mean, what is the holdup on getting it back? And so, from what I've read online, any kind of investigation like this don't take this long. I bought this truck. I paid cash for this truck. I have the title in hand. I registered with the DMV. I am the registered owner. I have the title in hand. This is a civil matter. It should be handed back to me right away. It shouldn't have been taken in the first place. Frankly, I'm looking at maybe getting an attorney to pay you damages.
Yeah. So at this time, if it's like I said, part of an active investigation, we will not be briefed on it as a council, because that's a police matter at that point. So if you would like to reach out to them and get their, just allow them to work through the process, and they'll communicate with you as to where they're at and to if there's any holdups or whatnot. But at this point in time, we don't have anything. We don't get involved with those matters at this point.
Okay, well, at what point could you guys get involved here? I don't know. I just want my truck back, man.
Mr. Tripp?
Yeah, and usually, Mr. Driver, so the council doesn't get involved in matters of this nature, as the work itself is tasks that the police department performs on a day-to-day basis. It just so happens in this particular case, as Captain Keith mentioned, this is an active investigation, which precludes them from being able to share information with you at this time. But once that concludes, either Corporal Johnson or someone from the police department will certainly give you the disposition of how the matter will be resolved, and even provide guidance with you on possible next steps on how to proceed as well. But the city can't discuss what's currently under an active investigation.
What should I do as far as work goes? I need this truck to work, man. I can't just not work. I mean, I don't know. I can go rent a truck. I don't know. I've tried renting a truck. You can't even rent one with a fifth wheel. They don't want to come and do the work for you. So I'm the person that usually does the work. So I don't know exactly where to go from here as far as making a living goes. That's going on over a week now that they've had it. I don't get why it's taking so long. That was the guy that sold it to me was fraudulent. Why would he have the title? I don't know. I'm very confused on why this is not getting back to me. I mean, it says in back to investigation, but what could they be investigating that possibly could be taking this long? I registered it with the DMV, titled in my name. I did everything. I even called in before to make sure because I've been in this report that it was not stolen. And that crime check said not stolen, not stolen, not stolen. I don't know why they're trying to say my truck is stolen. They said it's another owner. I think that's the gentleman that sold me the truck. They're trying to get it back like it's a scam.
Yeah, and at this point, sir, I cannot give you any information from my seat. This
Okay.
is a police matter at that point. So I would just ask you to communicate with their office and they will fill you in as they can. As far as an active investigation, whatever it concerns, that's going to be a matter with them.
Okay, what about
I wish I could give you a better answer, but that's all I can give you right now.
Okay, well, they still don't explain to me. They don't explain anything to me about how I'm supposed to make a living. So I bought the truck to, possibly haul some stuff with it. So I don't know. Well, anyway, thank you for hearing me, guys. I appreciate it. Anything you can do to get my truck back, please. I don't mean to be mad at you guys, but I know you guys have a job to do too. But I gotta admit, if there is any crime here, I'm the victim and I'm had my truck being held. So
Okay.
I'm at that point.
Absolutely. And I completely understand how frustrating that must be. And I, wouldn't have a concern as well if it was my vehicle. Not being in the know is definitely a matter that none of us like. So we will, I've asked them for an update, when they can to give the council an update. And I'm sure they will be in contact with you as well, sir, as soon as they can.
Okay,
All
I
right.
do believe I have my phone number and thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, sir. Sorry, I couldn't give you more details. But with that, is there anybody else who would like to address council? Anybody else with their hand raised? All right, not seeing any. All right, we don't have any call for any workshops or executive sessions. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 5:54.